Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 48th episode of Live from the Adelphi PAC Living Room. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Blythe Thalong. I'm the Executive Director of the Adelphi University Performing Arts Center. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with Adelphi. Now, while we aren't able to have audiences in person, we continue to use this show to bring Adelphi's talented students, alumni, faculty, staff, and other guests to you each week. Now, I'm a tiny bit dressed up tonight because this episode actually marks our 1-year anniversary of whatever this is. Our first show was on Monday, April 20th, a year ago, and here we still are 1 year later. So I wanted to do something, obviously, to mark this occasion, and it felt like the best way to do that would be to take this show to check back in on all of our great guests from that very first episode. So for this show, this week, we welcome back musician Sam Nulton. We welcome back Department of Music student Kevin Lubin, Department of Theater adjunct Erin Quill, and Department of Dance alum Emily Edwards. Now we'll also have another sneak preview of this week's Dance Adelphi production. So this is going to be a great show. Now, we're going to kick things off tonight with our first guest from our first show, the talented and entertaining Sam Nulton. So all of our guests have some kind of Adelphi connection. Now, most are students, alumni, faculty, or staff, but we have also included people who either have performed at the Adelphi PAC or are going to perform at the Adelphi PAC. And Sam has performed at Adelphi as part of the annual Sing Strong A Cappella Festival that we have hosted at the PAC for several years now. He's a very talented musician, also a world champion whistler, and early in quarantine, when everything was still almost completely shut down, he started creating these short synth jams and posting them online to his YouTube page to keep himself entertained and to just be doing something creative. So he's been keeping up with them occasionally as he's gotten back to work. So before we bring him on, here is one of his latest. Enjoy. Please welcome back the always classy, clearly, Sam Nulton. Hey, Sam.
Just the dumbest things that I've
managed to make. For a year.
Oh, yeah.
Because you started those like in March, pretty much the day everything closed, you posted one of your first ones.
Yeah, because work was canceled, so I just made a stupid synth jam. We didn't even know what was going on yet.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, this will get us through a couple of weeks.
Sure. Yeah. Month, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Happy anniversary, by the way.
I mean, I know. I can't bring myself to call. I kept being like, well, we're celebrating. I'm like, no, you can't say celebrate. Like, this is horrible. No one wants this. No one wants to
People are
be.
enjoying what
Sure.
you are providing the world.
Yes.
You are providing a
Sure.
service.
Sure. Allegedly. I have a whole bunch of data to prove otherwise, but you know, but why not? Now
Why
it's too
not?
late to stop. So
We're too
here we
deep now. We got to keep going.
I know.
We
We're
gotta
so
keep going.
close, and I'm like, I just got to get to the end of the school year, and then I can make this monthly. That's my bargain with myself to keep me from like jumping off a ledge. So
Sure.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But so welcome back. Thank you so much for, first of all, for being on our first show and our first guest on our first show, and for coming back a year later and taking the time to do this. I do really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. And so, because in addition to being a talented musician, you are also, well, I mean, this is what is written here. So I'm just saying the words.
You have my press packet that my people sent you.
That's right. I'm just reading off the cards. You're also, but you also are a camera operator for a lot of sports, most of which are also inside, which also shut down at the same time as everything else. So I know you're back to work somewhat. Mm-hmm. So I feel safe in asking you how you are doing now and a quick recap on how you are doing a year later.
Sure. Yeah. Since my main source of income is sports and motorcycles outside, they shut down for half the year, I guess. And they all came back in about January. And not all of them did so great. A lot of canceled games, but now they're really kind of hitting their stride, and a lot of teams are fully vaccinated. And April is turning out to be one of the busiest months ever with baseball coming back. Now there's baseball and hockey and basketball,
right?
Just all sorts of things going on at the same time. So it's almost back to normal with a mask on.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you also have fans back in the arenas and the stadiums, and I mean, in fewer numbers, but still. And I guess fewer depending on what team it is. There's probably some teams that are doing better than they were.
Right. Some are easier to get people spaced apart than others too. So
right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, it is interesting though because we got, I mean, that's all we'd ever done was with fans. And then we were all excited to be able to do sports without fans getting in the way. We could just walk wherever we wanted to go. But then as soon as fans came back in limited numbers, it was just shocking how much different the energy was and how impressive it was to see people in person, even in the small numbers that were there.
Especially if you did a little bit without them. I think that's been the biggest thing we've found is that you then instantly get used to that. I mean, we have cameras set up all over the audience parts, and we're just yelling things back and forth to each other. You wander up on stage like 20 seconds before the show's going to start. Like all conventions have just gone, right? And then we did something. We had a concert just a couple weeks ago where we invited some of the students to actually sit and be in the audience. And then we were like, oh, wait a minute. We've forgotten how to act when there's people here. And then also it was just great to hear, them applaud at the end of songs, and for poor performers to not be bowing to silence and, like sing their face off to be met with, crickets. So, and
you don't realize some of the things that you were missing either. You've long since just shut that off in your brain. Yeah. And it isn't even like, oh, I'm feeling depressed about that part. You just forgot that it existed until it comes back and just it completely feeds you in a whole different way that you've forgotten about. It was interesting to see the difference in dynamic there. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely, I mean, it fully feels different, even though I think we had 20 people there. It might as well have been 200, just in the difference it made. Like you said, even with the, at sports where there's less people and now suddenly you're here. But so to get back on track, well, no, it's fine. I mean, whatever, nobody cares. That's why they're here. But so at the end of each Synth Jam, as we saw, I believe since one of the very first ones, if not the first one, you always put on screen, "Believe in your dreams." at the end.
Yeah, it was a joke that, I don't know.
That then just
It's always been a joke, like,
stuck.
hey, do you care if I, turn this water off? Do you care if I leave this door open? Yeah, whatever. Believe in your dreams.
Yeah.
It's just been a joke that I put at the end of the synth jams are so happy and poppy. They just sound like ridiculous motivational speaker kind of thing. So I put that on there as a joke.
Right. Yeah, it's really great things that you can download and use for free on YouTube as background in your own videos, right? Yeah,
right.
It fully has that feel to it, where here's some stuff that could be anything, but that clearly, in at least a little bit of a way, if not inspired a project that you're working on now, but at the very least, the title of something that you're doing started a few months ago, earlier this year, that you've called Believe in Your Dream Roles. So tell us a little bit about this, and then we're going to share one of them.
Sure, yeah. So Believe in Your Dream Roles kind of evolved out of that logo that I got on Fiverr for $5, I think. I said, make me something that looks like this. And they did it for $5. But then I was thinking, like, well, there's a lot of Broadway people. I have several Broadway friends that are out of work, right? And even their backup, their side hustle was shut down.
Right.
I have the first one I did was a friend of mine who's a star, like a leading lady in major Broadway shows, and what gives her money in the downtime is sewing bridal things. She's a like costume designer and bridal designer, but there's no weddings either.
Right.
So she just has nothing. And so I was thinking, well, I wonder if there's a way to hire Broadway people. I'm like, well, I have this YouTube channel that I could also benefit from this. What if I hired these people to actually sing from their house? And I'm like, well, let's just, what songs should we do? Why don't we just figure out what their dream roles are? And they loved it. They got to, instead of just like, hey, can you help me move for, $20 and a muffin, it's actually doing what you've trained your entire life to do. And you're safe at home from your house and you can do it on your own time. So we made these duets of Broadway songs with these Broadway artists that were out of work and got them paid to do that, which was great.
Which is so fantastic and such a great idea, and such a way to sort of use the resources that you have and the expertise you have to help out other folks. And I mean, listen, the plenty of people have been doing lots of things for free, especially in that arena where, they just an endless parade of benefits for other things. And it's great, when anything like this comes along. So we're going to share the latest one of these that you've done. I believe this was the latest one. And so tell us about this song and the person singing it.
Sure. Is this the You Matter to Me one?
Yes.
Yes. So this was a friend from college. I went to school at the University of Miami, which is where I met Blythe in the first place.
Correct.
So she was a classmate of mine, and she is currently in normal times. She got off the road as a background singer with Rod Stewart. She was traveling the world with Rod Stewart so that she could make her Broadway debut. And that show, it was a flop or whatever. It closed quickly. And so she went back to being a background singer, which immediately shut down. So she's been without work for quite a while. So she always wanted to do this song from Waitress, which is by Sarah Bareilles, who we're all big fans of. So we did this duet, which I had a blast with. It was a lot of fun.
Great. Yeah, it turned out really well. So we're going to share it for everybody here now. Enjoy.
Great.
I could find the whole meaning of life in those sad eyes. They've seen things you'll never quite say, but I hear, come out of hiding, I'm right here beside you. and I'll stay there as long as you let me, because you matter to me. Simple and plain and not much to ask from somebody. You matter to me, I promise you do. You matter too, I promise you do. You'll see. You matter to me.
It's addictive the minute you let yourself think. The things that I say just might matter to someone. All of this time I've been keeping my mind on the running away. And for the first time I think I'd consider the stay. Because you matter to me. Simple and plain and not much to ask from somebody. You matter to me, I promise you do. You matter too, I promise you do. You'll see. You matter to me.
Dear baby, I hope someday somebody wants to hold you for 20 minutes straight. They don't pull away. They don't look at your face. They don't try to kiss you. All they do is wrap you up their arms and hold on tight without an ounce of selfishness to it. I hope you become addicted, baby. I hope you become addicted to saying things and having them matter to someone.
You matter to me. Simple and plain and not much to ask from somebody. You matter to me.
I promise you
Come out of hiding, I'm right here beside you. As long as you have
promise you
me,
do.
I do. Promise you do. You matter to me. You'll see. You matter to me.
So great.
Isn't she amazing?
She is really fantastic. Her name again?
Her name is Becca Cody.
Amazing.
Kotte.
So great. So
Yeah.
great. And such a fun project and such a great way to also use some of your downtime and between projects and also then, get a little more content for your YouTube page, which I
Right.
do encourage everyone to head to.
It's the absolute dumbest thing you'll find on the internet.
That's right. So it is a few more of those pieces. I think you've done 3 so far.
Yep.
And as well as more than anyone asked for of your synth jams.
Way more.
And but also then some of your whistling nonsense, which is really where most of your followers come from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And,
you got to find your niche, your little circus act.
That's
that you
right.
can-
And pretty much anything else, there's bound to be a comment somewhere that about how much better it would be if someone was whistling. So
Exactly. That's all
right.
people care about on YouTube.
you do what you gotta do. There's also through links on your YouTube page where you can find out more about the project and about your Believe in Your Dreams merch.
That's right.
Which helps support this project and keep it going, because if you don't have things going in about 20 different directions, what are you even doing with?
Exactly.
Like you
exactly.
just don't even bother.
I'm my own worst publicist. I should be wearing a friend's band's T-shirt, and I'm not, wearing my own Believe in Your Dreams merch. But
whatever.
So many people have bought it, and I'm so thankful to all those people that have bought shirts, and they've bought them for their kids, and they've bought mugs and fanny packs.
It's nonsense. Well, I mean, these days, if you have a logo, someone will print it onto anything. So, And they're
$5 on Fiverr.
Exactly.
You can get your own logo for $5.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to be here. We will get one more of your synth jams at the very end of the show, just because, why not? And no one can stop me. So great. Is there also, hopefully things come together that maybe you'll be back in February of next year for another Sing Strong a cappella festival. We're waiting to see how things shake out and whether or not singing into having, a building full of high school kids singing into each other's faces is really the best idea come February. Not anytime soon, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't know that it was necessarily a good idea ever, but that's a different conversation.
on very many levels.
I mean, yeah. But before I move on, anything else you want to share before I get going on the show that already is running long?
I just want to say thanks to you for putting all these things together, and for Adelphi for supporting artists like this and things like Sing Strong and all the amazing artists you bring in addition to supporting your own students. It's a wonderful thing for the arts.
It's been fun, and we have been doing the best we can, especially under the circumstances, and have had I am not ashamed to say more programming than any other school anywhere on Long Island through our performing arts programs. Through all of this, most of them have just thrown in the towel, it seems. So we have been working hard to make that happen. So I'm glad that people have been enjoying it and that we've been able to keep things going in some fashion. So regardless
of what you feel about it, you are actually providing a service to people. So
absolutely,
congratulations on that.
I absolutely, I'm a fan. I wouldn't be this wouldn't be my life if I wasn't at some level. So great. Well, thank you again, Sam, for being here. I do appreciate you taking the time and for sharing some of your music with us.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for what you're doing.
I look forward to seeing you again in real life soon.
I hope so.
Right. Take care. So next up, we are going to have a visit with Department of Music student Kevin Lubin. Kevin is now a junior in the Department of Music. He was nearing the end of his sophomore year when he was on the show with us last spring. He had work tonight, so I pre-recorded my conversation with Kevin earlier this weekend, along with the performance that we're going to share from his recent junior recital. So here is my conversation with Kevin Lubin. So hello, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being back on with us a year later. So you, along with everyone, were a guest on our very first show. You were at home. You played a piece for us that you had written. That was one of your, I think you were working on Shakespeare sonnets at the time and putting music to Shakespeare sonnets, right? How did you continue on that? I'm guessing you worked on that some more over the summer and maybe further.
Yeah, that project is pretty much done. I have 14 sonnets in total. And they can be performed either separately or as a full set.
That's great, excellent, and really nice work. It was a lovely piece you shared.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be able to hear more of them. I also think that so tell us a little bit about your year, how your school year has gone. I know you've had a lot of different projects going and you've worked on a number of things. So just give us a little bit of an update on how your year has been. You are a junior now, I believe, and nearing the end of your junior year. So tell us how that's been going.
Sure. It is very nice to be on campus, and I can, come and see people. Of course, we are all socially distanced and wearing masks and very safe, but it is just nice to be in person. And it is especially nice to make music in person. If there's anything with singers or wind players, that is still very much separate and and not in person yet.
Right.
But our percussion quartet is meeting in person, and we are going to have a concert with all four of us together in the same room, and that is going to be really great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. The percussion ensemble is actually the only music student event this spring that is going to be broadcast live, at least parts of it, and in person. So we're really looking forward to that, to sharing that and showing that as well. So that's really going to be great. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of very interesting music that we were planning, could be performed separately if need be, but to perform it, as one group is going to be much better.
Great, and it is quite like you said, it is a completely different environment. It's so much nicer. I know, we've been lucky to have a number of guest artists here through the year, and many of them have performed live, or at least been in our space, and folks have had a chance to work with them. So we actually had Percussion. Speaking of percussion, they were here earlier this semester, and we did a composition workshop with them where they actually played a piece that you composed.
Yes.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that experience and how that all went for you?
Sure. Yeah. So was absolutely fantastic. And they workshopped a short piece of mine called "The Pink House Down the Road," and it's a very silly piece. Sometimes very silly, sometimes very quaint. And they were just very nice, and they were very helpful. And actually, one of those movements is going to be in the school percussion concert soon.
Oh, great. Excellent.
Yes,
Excellent.
And hopefully fixed up a little bit thanks to what So said to me and helped me with.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was a really great evening or afternoon. I don't remember what time of day it was, but it was excellent to see them and to then give you feedback as the people playing it. Oh, what about this, or how about this kind of notation, or is this what you meant? Yeah. And so I'm sure that kind of thing is just invaluable to get that sort of feedback as you're in the process of writing something like that. So it's excellent. And then, as you said, you have, being back on campus and having people around, you have had a few opportunities to actually work with other musicians. And I know on your, you just recently did your junior recital. We aired it, I think, last weekend. You recorded it a few weeks earlier. And I know you did that on the harpsichord, which we're going to hear a piece from that in a minute. But you also did, as part of that, you had a piece where you had a singer with you, which must have been nice.
Yeah, it was very different to finally do what I've been trained to, be doing for years, which is play with people.
Yeah.
Because I do love playing, playing solo, but there's just something very special to make music with, as a duet or trio, and just with a large group. So even just to have one singer was really, really nice.
Yeah, no, that's it really is great, and that's lovely. So on the program for your junior recital, you were on the harpsichord the whole time.
Yes.
And played harpsichord, and we are going to share a movement of one of those pieces on the show now. So tell us about the piece that we're about to hear.
All right. I played a full French suite, and that could be between 20 and 30 minutes. I think this one was the about 24 to 25 minutes. And we are going to be showing the very first movement, the prelude, which starts off without any kind of bar lines. There is no sense of strict beat per se, but then it goes into a very fast dance-like section.
Okay, great. Well, here is this piece from Kevin's junior recital. Enjoy. Great. Well done, Kevin. Lovely to see. And we are looking forward to the percussion ensemble concert that is coming up in just a few weeks. Also, are you involved? What are you involved in any of the other ensembles that are happening over the next few weeks through the music department?
Yes, I am going to be a big part of the chamber concert too, which is virtual and will have a live component with a piece composed by Professor Bo Kieran, who is the chair and a fantastic composer.
Excellent. Oh, great. Yeah, we always love when we do Sydney's work. And so the chamber ensemble is also going to have a live element to their program.
Yes.
Well, that is news to me. So that's fantastic. I will make a note of that as we're planning going forward.
Yeah, live, but that one is mostly Zoom based, I think.
No, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. That's how pretty much everything is, or going to be recorded, and then put together after the fact. So that's great. So excellent. So chamber ensemble, percussion ensemble, and like I said, this is we're nearing the end of your junior year, so we're looking forward to having you around for another year, and as you continue to work on your music and your composition skills. So. That's great. Well, enjoy the last few weeks of the semester. And thank you again for taking the time to come back on. I know that you have work on Monday night, so we're pre-recording this, but I appreciate you taking the time to share this with us. And thank you for sharing that great piece of music.
Of course. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. And I, just love these streams every single Monday. It's like a new breath of performance.
I appreciate it. It's been fun to put together. I'm glad that it has lasted as long.
Yeah.
It's been nice that it's lasted this long, and we're going to figure out. We're working on a way to keep it going even beyond this. Probably it will only be once a month. It won't be every week, but we'll definitely be keeping it going into the new year. So
great.
It's great.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to see you.
You too.
Thank you, Kevin, again. And I feel like I keep saying over and over that this is going to start being just once a month as a way to get myself through this, so that I don't fully freak out as the semester comes to an end. But all is well. So to keep things moving on the show, our next guest was part of the original Broadway company of Avenue Q. She lives and grew up right here in Garden City. And is an adjunct teaching acting for non-majors at Adelphi. Please welcome, once again, another of our guests from the very first show, Erin Quill. Hello, Erin.
Oh, hello. How are you?
I am all right. Thank you so much for hanging in there and sticking around tonight to be here. I appreciate it.
Yes, once a month, huh?
Yes, that is it. That's it.
As
soon as school is out, I'm doing like an extra week, and then it will be the second Monday of every month. That's going to be my plan.
I'll see if you can keep away.
I mean, listen, believe me, that won't be the problem. I can assure.
Allegedly.
Oh yeah, I've had it, but so
everybody's had it. We've all had it.
I mean, I'm just looking forward to not having this step and repeat in my apartment anymore. I mean, that's it. And if I, once that's done, then then that will be the official end of the pandemic for me.
Right.
Because
once I stop making my bedroom a studio that is fully able to record voiceovers, and it's just so. I was like, I did not go to school for engineering. Hello.
Yeah.
But,
meanwhile, I can. I know the things that we've all slowly purchased over the last year that we never wanted to have to deal with. But
never.
But that said, how has your year been going with teaching? You have been teaching in the fall and in the spring, our acting for non-majors classes. So how have those been going?
Actually, those have been going pretty well. It's funny because, during the previous years, the kids, I would have, not all students would show up for class, right? Because they'd just be sick or late or they overslept. Since the pandemic has begun, 90% of the students are there every single class. Like, it's actually frightening because I can, some of them are like 3 minutes late, which on the internet is like 3,000 years. But, like they're just there and they're so eager to do this class, which is not mindless, but which is a break from their other classes.
Sure. It's very different than, their other studies. Yeah.
Yeah. The hardest part for me was trying to figure out like, I can't do physical exercises like I used to do with them in class, so improv has a very specific style and script work has a very limited, I can only give limited feedback because it can only exist in the box as opposed to, when it's in person, I'm staging things, I'm bringing them forward. I'm really giving them a lot of stage direction. And some of the scenes turn out actually great at the end of it. But I will say all my kids are just very, very focused and have met every single deadline, which again is like, that's not typical. Like usually they're like, well, professor, I'm so tired. I didn't remember it. I'm sorry.
And I will say that is not what you're hearing in faculty meetings and chairs meetings during this past year about how most students are acting in most of their classes. So something is working here that is keeping them engaged.
They're very engaged, and I do talk to, and I tell them, I'm like, you have to pace yourselves. You can't. This is a pandemic. We have not done this since the Black Plague, and in the Black Plague, we had 5 years with no theater. So this is your break. This is where you get, and I think the biggest thing for me is that they need to be silly. They need to have that outlet to be larger than life. Like my theory with acting, and particularly acting on camera, is that 90% of the time when I get them, all their improv and like zest has been kind of tamped out of them because they've been sitting in a classroom for, probably like 10 years now, 12 years, really just considerably focused on sitting and absorbing. And so my asking them, what's your, for lack of a better term, what's your motivation? Why is your character doing this? I get a lot of, in the first month, I get a lot of this. And then as time goes by, they're like, oh, well, I think this happened. I think that happened. They have more skills to go through the end of the semester with. So it takes about a month before they loosen up.
Sure.
But it does take that first month is hard going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely.
The first month is really hard.
I would be a nightmare in a class like that. I would be just the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. But I will say once that first month is done and they know I'm not out to get them, they really perk up and they're like, oh, professor, I want to go this week. I want to go this week. So, it is very different. I get kids from all over the university, which also like lends itself to kind of being, if you can see somebody who struggles in a normal setting and then you see them like let go in acting class, that gives you the I guess confidence to be like, what, I can do it. And I don't, nobody's judging me. Nobody's, so I always tell them acting class is like Vegas. what happens in acting class stays in acting class.
Yeah, absolutely, because you want the ability to make a fool of yourself and to fail and to have that not matter, right? To figure out, oh, okay, I should have done this instead, or
Yeah. And I always say, well, think about this point of view, think about that point of view. Like, where is this person? When we go through acting scenes with this bunch of kids, it's very difficult to get them to understand the who, what, where, why, when, and how that acting students kind of like get spoon-fed to them from the time they start studying. But once they get it, they really, really push. And they do written assignments, they do viewing assignments. They're really actually enthusiastic, which is, not what I'm hearing across the pandemic. And they've never, honestly, in the 2 semesters that they've never missed a deadline. None of my students have missed a deadline to like either be off book for their scenes or to really turn in the majority of assignments.
Which is great. I mean, yeah. Always good to hear. So now, in addition to obviously your teaching at Adelphi and the work that you do there, you also continue to be a working actress and also have continued your work as an advocate and I'm going to say shaker upper of
It's only a pain in the ass. That's really what I am.
I mean, I didn't want to be the first one to say it, but yes, a giant pain in the ass on behalf of the AAPI community,
yes. And
others, absolutely, for really, your work focused primarily in the beginning, especially, and throughout this on just visibility of, these marginalized communities and people that and communities that are not marginalized anywhere other than in the faces and stories that you see in theater, film, and television. They are, there's a lot of these people around in all these different groups, and but there's not a lot of them on the screens and on the stages, unfortunately. And so that was really, the primary work you were doing in the beginning, but then that has turned into a lot of other things. So tell us about this work that you've been doing and how that's changed with everything that's gone on in the last few months and, really the last several years, but in a very worse and different and much more visible direction and certainly in the last month or two.
Well, I started it 9 years ago when my son was born because I was out of work, clearly. Nobody's going to hire a 7.5-month pregnant lady to be in their musical.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, because we can still do all the things. Maybe not the high kicks, but we can certainly still sing. But the impetus was I looked down at my son after he was born and I thought, and it was like a 4 a.m. feeding. And I thought, I don't want him to grow up just being the crawl-a-home and that, like, I didn't want him to just pace his life as a part in The King and I, where he started as Prince Chulalongkorn and then he goes up and he, like that. So I was scrolling the internet because what else do you do at 4 a.m. when everybody else is asleep? And I saw they had finally cast the Nightingale at La Jolla Playhouse. And several of my friends had said to me, do you know who's in the Nightingale? Because I tried to get an appointment for that and I can't. And all those friends were Asian. And I said, well, what is it? And they go, oh, like the Emperor's Nightingale. And I was like, oh, right. Because that story takes place in China. So I saw it on a like Broadway World or something. And I was like, oh, I wonder who's in this. Because, Ray Lee's not in it and he's in everything. So and he was the one complaining, which is not quite like Ray because Ray works all the time. So I clicked on it and I was like, I wonder who's in it. And there were almost no Asians in it. There was one girl local girl who played the Nightingale itself. And she was so covered in feathers, you couldn't tell what she was, if she was anything. And then they had one actress playing the spoiled princess. And then that was it. And the whole thing for me was that the show was still set in China, and it was not set in China nowadays, which still isn't completely, mixed or anything.
Yeah.
But because, there's a wall and everything, it's like prevents a lot of diversity. But that it was set in China, like basically in the in like the 1400s, somewhere way back, like far legendary ancient China. And yet there were all these people there that were not Chinese. And the musical was written by Duncan Sheik and Stephen Sater, who wrote Spring Awakening. And I wrote about it, and I wrote about it in a funny way because I'm a relatively funny person. And because the irony was so just obnoxious that I was like, how could you write about ancient China and then have no Chinese people in it?
Right.
Because the woman who was playing the spoiled princess, she was actually half Japanese. So I was like, oh my God, she's not even Chinese. You know, like, I'm like, oh, you know, because I know half a dozen people who could play that part.
Right.
You know? So that was where it started. It started and it grew because they weren't just having these casting issues in the United States. They were having these casting issues and I had people writing to me from Australia. Well, please come, like, please write about this thing over here. And then I had people writing from England. My now friend, Daniel York Lowe, he was like, listen, we're having a really hard time here with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Will you please write something? And then when I do my research and I investigate like what is the core issue, that kind of starts something percolating, and I get somewhere in between mad and just like frustrated and silly. And I use a lot of humor. I use a lot of sarcasm. I use a lot of drag queens, actually, many of whom I know.
As many people do.
I mean, you know, I maybe they don't know quite as many as me, but
no, I mean, use drag queens to solve their problems.
Well, I mean, who else better to give you empathy and an understanding of not fitting in than a drag queen?
Yeah.
You know, like, let's be honest. And over time, I not stopped, but I didn't just write about Asians and lack of representation. I wrote about like LGBTQIA issues. I wrote about issues affecting the Black community. I wrote about Evita effect and how it is affecting the Latinx community and those performers. Because the truth is that representation is of vital importance so that people understand that other people who don't maybe look like people they see every day are still human and still have feelings, and that you can, for the length of the show, put yourself in their shoes, their metaphoric shoes, and see them and their wants and their needs. And it creates empathy. And the truth is that Asian Americans do not have a lot of empathy in this country. Since we got here, we have been blown up in the railroads. We've been lynched. We've been thrown into, prisons and put in ethnic.
We had essentially concentration camps for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you know, what's so funny is when I was in high school, all they said about that was like, and then the Japanese people went to camp. And I was like, they went to camp? That seems like a good way to wait out the war. Like, that was literally my thought process. And my dad said something to me and I was like, yeah, they went to camp. He goes, no, not 4-H camp. Like, they're not going out to Riverhead. He's like, do you know anything? And like, really, I didn't, because the curriculum at that time was not inclusive.
Yeah.
And America
certainly would have left out something like that, as mine did too. I didn't hear about that until, not that many years ago, when George Takei put together his musical. And I mean, I think in the lead up to that, you started hearing about it. And then certainly when that show happened, it was unavoidable that this story was out there, and again, shows the importance of just getting these people to the forefront or somewhere near the forefront even, right? So that they can tell these stories that are out there and that have gotten lost and forgotten or hidden or deliberately, pushed to the side. So I think it's just, and like you said, you've unfortunately have expanded your reach to a lot of other areas.
Fortunately or on, I think the thing is, like, once I pressed the send button on my first post, which really blew up, which was about the La Jolla Playhouse, it had 25,000 hits and reads in a week, actually in 3 days, in the first 3 days. And I think it was the tipping point for a lot of people, about, wow, this is so outrageous and so offensive, and just the underlying sea of anger, because though Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have not been seen in great numbers on television or film or the stage, it's not that we weren't there. It's not that we weren't still going to class. It's not that we weren't still studying. It's just that we simply have not been allowed the opportunity. And even to play ourselves, many, many people still believe that they can just put on makeup and go sing a part in the Mikado without really examining but should I sing that part of the Mikado in Yellowface? Because I have no problem with anybody doing the Mikado, insofar as, like, as long as they're not dressing up to make fun of us. I'm a Gilbert and Sullivan fanatic. I do love Gilbert and Sullivan, but the Mikado comes with, like, so many minefields that it is really difficult to avoid them unless you have creative consultants, unless you have Asian American Pacific Islander cast members, unless you make the effort to do it inclusively. Because if you don't, and this is what I said actually when I was invited to a conference at the New York Gilbert and Sullivan Theater, because we had to have a conference, them and me, and their audience attended and their backers attended. And I said, the thing is, you want Asian Americans to be like, oh, the Mikado, let's take everyone. That's your goal. But the way you're doing it and performing it is not going to bring us into the theater.
Right.
You have to do better. You have to make it palatable to a wide, and nobody wants to go into a theater and feel like everybody's laughing at me, because I had been to a performance of their Mikado, and it was my husband and myself. My husband is Korean American, and he was incandescent with rage by the time we reached intermission. And the audience was just, ha, 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 ha. It's so funny. It's, it was really like a demonstration of, I guess, just like, not to put too fine a point on it, white supremacy in theater. They don't care. And so what my advocacy is trying to do is honestly make people care about getting it right. A lot of times I don't find out they've done it until they've done it, and I cannot prevent it. But sometimes I can prevent it. And it goes both ways. If I see an Asian American theater company messing up, I am just as quick to call bullshit on that. Like I did with NAP. They wanted to do all Asian American production of Showboat, and I was like, no. What? And I was like, how would that even work?
Yeah.
So it's not that I think with my advocacy at this point, I just call out everybody and let the chips fall as they may. I mean, I said something about Scott Rudin last year.
Sure.
I called Music Man the MAGA Man. It had over 5,000 reads in the first 2 days, and yet no retweets, no Twitter posts. And I said to my husband, what is going on? I literally just called him a bigoted, bully. And he said, they're texting it to each other.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to post it. So, I do think I think things are changing, but they still are changing very slowly. Yeah. And I would love to see more people, embrace the idea of a Latinx creative team. I would love more people to think like, hey, if I'm going to do Porgy and Bess, I have to have African Americans, not just on the stage, but behind the scenes. There has to be a universal coming together and acknowledgement that some of these stories, yes, they were written 100 years ago, 50 years ago. They still have relevance to those communities, but the people who will make them most relevant for the communities are people who are in those communities.
Absolutely. And I think that, that's why it is so much about keeping that conversation going and bringing these things up from different perspectives and from the perspective of people involved and with whose communities are being representative or not being represented or being represented incorrectly, to have that to say, wait a minute, no, this is, maybe you meant well, maybe you didn't mean well, but this is certainly what happened. So I think it's been great and has led to a lot of other, opportunities for you and on being with panels and talking with a lot of these companies directly and really having those conversations and helping to facilitate that. So I think, which is really how things start to move the needle a little.
Right. And I don't actually, some of my stuff happens behind the scenes. I can't get on here and tell you all the people I've had conversations with and spoken to, and because that would also freak out the other people, obviously. Right? Because
it's also not productive either. It can't all be public shaming, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, you don't. But I do have these conversations pretty much monthly with different people on different levels. I've had them with casting directors. I've had them with the composers. I've had them with, and so the truth is, like, it is the blog, of course, but it is also the personal relationships that I have had over time that people trust me. They can come to me and I'm not going to put their business all over the internet. And then I do the panels for Broadway Con. And like, for example, on Friday, this past Friday, I spoke to the cast of Soft Power, David Henry Hwang, Conrad Ricamora, Francis Jude, JG Makapugwai, and Sunny Height. And we spoke about hashtag Stop AAPI Hate, and we spoke about the work. And we had, like, I think actually a pretty important conversation about what, the show Soft Power means to the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, and also what art can mean just in general, what the feeling of being seen for the first time and being asked for input, asked for our opinions. One of the issues with the Nightingale was that there, in earlier workshops that had been done in New York, they had used Asian American actors, and they gave feedback like, hey, if this play is set in China, you cannot use geisha references in the song because that's Japanese. And the creatives didn't like that, So then their next thing was like, how about we do it with no Asians, and then we won't get any. And so you can see that erasure has led in many cases, like, every Asian American Pacific Islander girl over the age of 14 knows somebody has come up to her and said, can you love me long time? And that's because of Full Metal Jacket. We have so much input from our film and television in this country that if we only see ourselves as marginalized adjuncts to the main story, then what happens is we become marginalized adjuncts to our own lives. If we're only seen as filling a slot, then it is very easy to discount us. It's very easy to enact violence upon us. Like, our seniors now are under attack. I've been verbally attacked 3 times since this pandemic has started. My son has gotten a little bit of it. My mother, there's a lot to be said. I don't think there would be as much violence against Asian Americans. And by the way, that includes Sikh Americans. Like, we just had this terrible shooting just a few days ago. They are also in our AAPI community. Yeah. We would not have that if we had a more well-rounded view of what it means to be all those different things, and if you saw everybody as a person and not just as their skin color.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, it has been always interesting to see the great work you're doing and the conversations that you're having and that you're starting both publicly and behind the scenes. And I do encourage everyone to visit your blog, The Fairy Princess Diaries.
It's slightly crazy.
It is a little all over the place, but in a fun way. You never really quite know what you're going to get. It might be, incredibly serious and incredibly weighty, or just complete fluff and nonsense about nothing. So it really is, and everything in between.
Everything in between.
So I thank you so much for talking about this, for the work that you do. We could talk about this forever, but the show is already running so long.
Of course. And I want to thank you, because honestly, everybody has said, how great you've been during this pandemic. And I just want to say, this really has been just such a gift to the alumni and to the faculty to know that they have this outlet, to know that you're kind of like the captain at the head of the ship, like keeping us all afloat. So I wanted to say thank you because I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. I thank you for that. And it's, we've been doing the best we can. And, if nothing else, this was a good way for me to figure some of this stuff out on my own over the summer, so that we were ready to do things for real when school started. So it was, it's been a great challenge, but it's been a lot of fun and allowed us to connect with people that we just wouldn't have been able to have great conversations like this that never would have happened otherwise. So, as much as I complain about it, I mean, there's a reason I keep doing it. So it's good.
But now you're only going to do it once a month.
I swear to God that yes. So, but anyway, so you were okay. Now back to this. You were on you were on our first episode. You sang a song from Avenue Q. Yep. Technical problems be damned. That was a fun one where you're emailing me files like while the show was going on. That was great. So tonight, it's a year later. We've figured a lot more of that out. And so you actually went to the concert hall last week and recorded a song for us. Mm-hmm. So anything you want to say before I play this piece?
No, this is a fun cabaret piece that was written by Marcy and Zena, who are very popular female composer, probably our number one female composing team in musical theater currently. And they wrote this years ago for, I believe, Kristen Chenoweth. And we just thought it was fun and silly, and you don't have to overthink it. So just enjoy enjoy your barista.
Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Erin Quill, and this is the lovely Esther Chung, and we are in the Adelphi Alumni Concert Hall, which is fitting because Esther is Adelphi alum, and we're going to do a silly little song to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Live from Adelphi. Okay. There's a boy who works at Starbucks who is very inspirational. He is very inspirational because of many things. I come in at 8:11. And he smiles and says, how are you? When he smiles and says, how are you? I could swear my heart grows wings. So today at 8:11, I decided I should meet him. In a proper formal way. So today at 8:11, when he smiled and said, how are you? I said, fine. And my name's Erin. And he softly answered, hey. And I told him my name's Erin. And thank you for the extra phone. And he said his name was Taylor, which provides the inspiration for this poem. Taylor, the latte boy, bring me Java, bring me joy. Oh, Taylor, the latte boy, I love him, I love him, I love him. And I'd like to get my nerve up and recite my poem musical. He would like the fact it's musical because he plays guitar. So today at 8:11, Taylor told me he was playing with his band down in the village in the basement of a bar. And he smoothly flipped the lever to prepare my double latte. But for me, he made it triple. And he didn't think I knew, but I saw him flip the lever, and for me he made it triple. And I knew that triple latte meant Taylor loves me too. I said, what time are you playing? And thank you for the extra skim. And he said, keep the 7.55 because this triple latte was on him. I mean, it had extra shots, and it was like not cheap. I mean, Taylor, the latte boy, bring me Java, bring me joy. Oh, Taylor, the latte boy, I love him, I love him, I love him. I used to be the kind of a girl who'd run when a love rushed toward her. But finally a voice whispered, love can be yours if you step up to the counter and order Taylor.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for keeping the light on for us all for a year.
I mean, I know, I can, but thank you again for taking the time to be here. I do encourage everyone to head to your blog and find out more about the work you're doing there and other projects that you have going on. So, but thanks again, and it was great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you around the halls in the PAC.
I know, right? I got one shot. I have one shot down. So
Excellent. Good.
I'm halfway there.
That's right.
I'm
All right, great.
almost there. I'm almost there.
I gotta go. The show's running long.
I know. I'm going. Bye.
All right. Good to see you. And thank you again so much to Erin for being here. Now, next up to represent our Department of Dance, she was a senior when she was on the show a year ago. She came back and was with us again over the summer. And so she joins us now as an alum of Adelphi. Please welcome Emily Edwards. Hello, Emily.
Hello, how are you?
I am all right. Thank you so much for your patience and for hanging out and being here and ready to be on. I forgot that even that first show was too long, and I had more guests than I ever did again. Like I was like, oh, this is too many people. But of course forgot that and was like, oh, this is okay. Well, it's happening again, but whatever. It's all good.
All good.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. Luckily, the ballet company I'm with, Ecclesia Contemporary Ballet, we went back into full studio swing as of July of 2020.
Great.
So we were able to be dancing in a studio. We've had live performances, mostly virtual ones.
Sure.
But actually, this past weekend on Saturday, we had a festival in New Hampshire in a theater with a live audience inside the theater.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was such an incredible feeling that I will never take for granted ever again.
It's so great, right? Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is that. You don't really realize just how, like, you think you missed it, but you don't really realize how much until it happens again. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. That's so great where are you located now?
I'm in Connecticut right now.
Got it.
Yeah, right.
And the ballet company is obviously also in Connecticut, so you're up in that area, which things have been a little different there than they have been here. So, but obviously also a lot the same. So, so that's great. So you've been since graduation, you've been working with this ballet company and this dance school, right?
Yes. I've been. I came in as an apprentice, and I was promoted to company artist as of January. So I'm very happy that I was able to do that. And I also work alongside in the studio as well when they need substitute teachers and such. So I'm able to keep busy and keep dancing a lot.
That's really great. And so, and like you said, you guys have been doing performances. You have been doing things, virtually, and a few things now in person. I know you mentioned before when we were chatting before the show, you guys actually have some live performances planned outdoors in the next couple of months.
Yes.
So I do encourage folks to head to the Ecclesia Ballet website to find out more about those. If you are in the Connecticut area and can be there in person, I certainly encourage you to do that and to find out more about this great company that you've been working with since you graduated, which is awesome.
Yes.
And always good to hear. So now we have a performance that you're going to share with us. Tell us about this recording that you've sent and what this is and what we're about to see.
So we filmed. So up until this point, we've been doing all virtual shows every month for free, actually. And it's been called our Dance and Dialogue series. So the audience can ask questions about the piece after it's performed, and they'll see it again and be able to see what they've taken back from the piece.
Oh, great. That's smart.
Which is really cool, especially over Zoom. I've been able to reach so many people from across the country who haven't seen me dance since I was 5. So it's really cool.
Oh, nice.
Give them a little taste of what's happening now. So this piece is choreographed by Alyssa Schroth, the artistic director of Ecclesia Contemporary Ballet. And it's basically about trauma, and each dancer has their own story behind it. The piece itself is 13 minutes long, but I just cut it out to sections that I was in. And you could have your own story with it, essentially. it's hard without seeing the entirety. But the other girl I'm dancing with, essentially, I always thought of her as like the person suffering through the trauma, as we are like the people like in this, like how we're affecting her in the present moment.
Great. Well, I am happy to share another some excerpts from a short performance from Emily Edwards. Enjoy, everyone. Great.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Well done. A great little sampling of some of the work that you've been doing, and in that particular piece. And so I encourage folks to see more of your dancing, to head to your Instagram. You've posted a lot of your dance videos over the years on there, and there's a great variety of things happening there on your Instagram, as well as to visit the website of the dance company that you are working with to find out more about them and the programs they have going on, both virtually and in person now, which is great.
Yes.
And always nice to be back and to start having that back and slowly get back into that everywhere, with some outdoor stuff this summer and then more as we move along. So thank you again so much, Emily, for being here. I appreciate all the times that you've come on the show in the past and for joining us again for our 1 year show. So thanks.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to watch these shows every week, giving us the arts so tangibly.
Yeah, and and also it's now that school is happening and we have things going on, it's also been nice to use it to promote things that we have going on, and like Dance Adelphi that I'm about to talk about next, and for folks to be able to watch that even if they're not around anymore and have moved on to other places, to still be able to join us and keep up with what's going on in the dance department. So thank you again, Emily.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
You too. Thank you.
And speaking of Dance Adelphi, our dancers are hard at work as we speak in their final dress rehearsal for Dance Adelphi. Last week we had Orion on to talk about a couple of the pieces, but since they've been in rehearsal all weekend, And because of that, everything is filmed now, because we are also rehearsing for the camera people and the technical people. So all the rehearsals are also filmed. I decided to, as a last sort of preview of Dance Adelphi, to put together a video that shares the first 30 seconds, give or take, of each piece that is going to be a part of this upcoming Dance Adelphi. Now, keep in mind, this is rehearsal footage. The dancers are not in costume, and this was on Saturday, so there was still work to be done. But it gives you a great taste of the variety of performances that you will be seeing all week long as part of Dance Adelphi. So enjoy this sneak preview of Dance Adelphi. And that is a quick preview of Dance Adelphi. As I said, again, just rehearsal footage. So to see the whole thing and to see what all of this really looks like, you are going to need to watch the show. It is all week long. It opens tomorrow night, Tuesday, April 20th. There are performances through Sunday, April 25th. Performances are at 7:30 each evening, except on Sunday, which is a 2 p.m. Afternoon show. And every show, every performance is broadcast live from the Olmsted Theater. Now, many of the pieces have 2 different casts that'll be alternating for different performances. And that first piece you saw is a piece that Orion brought back that he did a few years ago, that he's pulling an excerpt from, that is the entire freshman class has worked on that piece to be a part of this. So that particular piece will only be on Saturday evening. So there is plenty of reason to watch, to tune in more than once. The show is only an hour, and the students are, as always, doing an excellent job with all of their hard work. Tickets are available on our website at pac.adelphi.edu. It is free, as have all of our student performances been, but you do need a ticket to be able to get the link to be able to watch the show. So I encourage you to check that out at least once in this coming week with Dance Adelphi. They have been working incredibly hard and are doing a really great job, as always, putting this performance together. And with that, we have come finally, unbelievably, to the end of our 1-year anniversary episode. Thank you to all of our great guests, both tonight and all the people who've been a guest over the past year, for taking the time to join me each week. We have one more synth jam from Sam to close us out. But for now, thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to all of our guests. Please stay safe, stay healthy, get vaccinated, and I will see you all again next Monday for our next live episode. Have a great night, everybody.